Rower. Hello, are we ready to start, are we?
Yes, hello.
Right, okay. Well, I'd just like to welcome everybody here today who's online, just to make you aware that it is live streamed. So we are here to Matariri Roa Long-Term Plan 2024 to 2034 draft user fees and charges. The 24 to 25 hearing for public feedback. I would just like to open it with a karakura by Peter Lucas. If he could do us the honours, please, Peter.
Kia ora, Chief. O tira tēnā tātou katoa. Kia karakia tātou. Kia tau ngā manaakitanga te mea ngaro, ki runga ki tēnā o tātou. Kia mahea te hua mā kihikihi, kia toi te kupu, toi te mana, toi te aroha, toi te reo Māori. Kia tūturu haka maua kia tīna, hui e, tai ki e. Kia ora tātou.
Thank you, Peter Lucas. I'd just like to start with the recommendations. So number one is that the report to Matariri Roa Long-Term Plan 2024 to 2034 and draft user fees and charges 24 to 25. Hearing on public feedback by Robin Broadhurst, Corporate Planning Specialist, and Kyla Kalia, Corporate Strategy Manager, dated the 4th of April 2024, be received. Okay, item 2, receive and where appropriate, hear feedback relating to Matariri Roa Long-Term Plan 2024 to 2034, consultation documents, supporting information document, and draft user fees and charges. Under item 3, that the council does not receive late feedback received after 10 a.m. the 23rd of April as per council submission policy. Okay, well, I'd like to take that as received or agree.
Kia ora, Chair. I'm happy to move those. I just wondered if we should also, before we do that, move our apologies. I know we've got an apology.
Okay, I was going to do that next. All right, sorry.
Cool.
I've got apologies from Joe Carr and Jack Craw might join us during the session.
I'm happy to move the apologies if somebody wants to second that.
Happy to second.
Marty Robinson.
And also happy to second the motion of receiving the 3 recommendations.
Okay, well done.
Approving. Kia ora.
All right, so we're going to start with Grace Lee Gross. She is on page 2685. I'm just going to have to shrink this down so I can read it. Okay, 2635.
Kia ora, Chair. Just while we wait for Grace to get there, I just wanted to clarify for Amy and Marty, you two were both moving and seconding resolutions 1 through 3 as well. You comfortable with that? just for the record.
Ka pai, yeah, happy with that.
Yeah, correct. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Chair, are we happy to put those motions? And I just note, I don't think we've got Grace online at present. We've got Asher Anderson and Chris Biddles ready to go at any time.
Okay, so you're happy to change to go to Ashley Adams? Asher?
Yeah,
Asher Anderson?
happy with that.
Everyone happy with that?
Aye.
Okay, can we move on to Asher Anderson? She's on 2930.
Right, she's joined.
Kia ora, everybody. Thank you. Nice to be here with you this morning. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak with you all. I think I've been in contact with some of you recently on some important issues. So I just thought I would start with a little bit about myself and where I am from, and then jump into a bit about my submission. So my name's Asher Anderson, and I live in the Waiare Valley at the Puketi Mokau Ridge. So I live right next to the Puketi Forest, and I'm extremely passionate about that forest. I am a coordinator for the Transition Towns Bay of Islands Whangaroa Network. So we do a lot of stuff related to community resilience and environmental work as well. I'm also a trustee for the Far North Resilient Communities Charitable Trust and a trustee for Flora and Fauna of Aotearoa. So Flora and Fauna of Aotearoa is a society related to the protection of our flora and fauna. And with that goes along raising awareness around the unintended consequences of the use of chemical toxins, particularly in conservation. So I'm also a member of the Waiare Landcare group. So the Waiare Valley is a very beautiful place, as many of our places up here in the north. I live on a forest sanctuary, and there's an abundance of forest birds: kiwi, ruru, tomtit, grey warblers, hawks. There's eels in the spring-fed streams, and there's curry snails and lots of other incredibly beautiful and important taonga species. Our neighbours and ourselves get our water from the spring-fed maunga at the Mokau Ridge. So we're also very, very protective and passionate about ensuring that that water that flows through our land, that we drink, that our animals drink, goes down to the Whangaroa Harbour. So we're really passionate about making sure that that's clean and protected. So the submission that I sent through to you perhaps maybe is a little bit tangential to some of the questions that were asked in the survey, but nonetheless, it's issues that I hope that can be somehow addressed within this long-term plan. You know, looking forward 10 years, you know, trying to envisage how we can do better and how we can be genuine in our approach towards sustainability and our environment. So I shared with you a recently published submissions catalogue. So this is a collection that a national group, several organisations have been working on over the past few years, collecting people's stories of harm from chemical poisons. And it was quite a broad inquiry that has been conducted. But what came up the most was conservation, was people being harmed through conservation-related pesticide use, in particular 1080. So within that submissions catalogue, you'll see, even if you don't have the time to go in and read it, just having a look through the catalogue itself will show you kind of what has come up. Many of the submissions are actually from Northland. So 1080 in particular, toxic dust to communities that live alongside where aerial operations are conducted. So people having their health impacted by that, as well as pest control workers. And then, of course, the unintended consequences on non-target species. So these all really featured very heavily. So the submissions catalogue is not just personal stories. It includes reports, studies, affidavits, articles on all of this stuff. So, you know, there's a deep dive to be had there, you know, with lots of information. the other one that has come up recently is the Brodificum. So if you're having a look through the submissions catalogue, one of the very important documents within it is called the Poison Register. Now that is an incident register that dates back to the very first in 1954, I believe it is. In 1950s, the very first aerial 1080 operation, and it records incidents where, for example, people's stock have been killed off, where, for example, perhaps a Brodificum operation has killed like masses of non-target species. So those are all recorded in there. So that is really an important document to have a look at among all of the other submissions. So I thought today I would really just like to maybe focus on a little bit of the data that I have, and I suppose encourage a step in the right direction, which is a shift towards supporting less harmful and more holistic biodiversity care, and an adoption of the precautionary principle in our approach to what our best practice might be. So just focusing on Brodificum, because what we're looking at here is chain poisons in particular that create that secondary kill throughout the food chain. So Brodificum is one of those toxins. It's available over the counter. It's sold as a rodenticide. A lot of people are using it. A lot of community groups are using it. DOC has historically used it a lot and still does. Less so aerially now because of the massive unintended consequences, but it's readily available and it's being used. And I know councils use it and perhaps encourage community groups to use it. But there's a lot of information around internationally and within New Zealand around the negative impacts that this toxin and anticoagulants as a grouping in particular have throughout the food chain. So they're not just poisoning the species that we want to kill, they're going on to harm multitude of other species. So one of the Landcare research has done a lot of study into this. So if you can see here, this is a Landcare research study on hawks. Now hawks in particular being one of those predatory birds that is higher up the food chain. They are highly susceptible. That goes with ruru too. So they did a study. They took hawks from the Wingspan Raptor Centre and also road-killed hawks, and they tested their livers. Now, in this study, 73.7% of those hawks came back as positive of having one or more anticoagulants within their liver. So 52% of those had Brodificum contamination in them. So you've got more than likely possums and rats that are being poisoned, that are then being consumed by these other animals. And, so basically it's filtering throughout the food chain. So that's hawks. And it's well known for predatory birds in particular because they're going after a lot of those species. What's really surprising, though, is that there's data on kiwi being contaminated with Brodificum. So I've got here information from DOC. This is a list of the 740 kiwi that were found dead within Northland over a 20-year period from 1998 to 2008. So that's 740 dead kiwi. Now, their deaths are listed, often unknown. Sometimes it says vehicle, sometimes it says dog, sometimes it says mustelid or misadventure or drowned. So that's a lot of kiwi, right? The other information...
Hey, I can't hear Asher talking.
You can't hear me?
She just cut off. She was in full flight. And for some reason, I'm not coming through.
Hi, Jeff. We can certainly hear.
I'm unmuted.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Jeff?
Can anybody hear me online?
I can hear both of you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can hear everybody.
Can you hear me, Asher?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I can't hear you. Have you muted something?
No.
No, Jeff.
Okay.
Audio is coming through clear to everybody here.
I'm just trying to talk to head office. All of a sudden you were coming through really well and then it just stopped.
Can you hear me,
Okay.
Jeff?
So I didn't touch anything. It's working here. Hold on, I've got Jono ringing. You there, Jono?
Yeah, I'm here. Have you muted yourself by any chance?
No, I'm. Asher can
Apologies,
hear
Asher.
me okay, but
No.
I can't.
Can
Asher,
you
not-
hear me, Jeff? Jeff, can you hear me or other
Can you hear him?
attendees? Can you hear me, Jeff?
okay. Well, I might need you to take control and move on until I find out why I can't get communication back. It all of a sudden just went all funny, the video.
I think just maybe having some local network problems.
Okay, but I can't hear anybody on the screen. I wonder if Amy, could you talk? Unmute yourself.
Can you hear me,
Apologies, Asher.
Jeff? I can hear Asher and Jeff.
Marty,
And
can you
everybody
talk?
else.
Yeah, can you hear me, Jeff? I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you and Asher.
but I just can't hear Asher. So, Marty, can you talk to Asher to wrap it up? Because we obviously can't communicate at the moment.
Asher can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you, Jeff. How long
Okay,
does
well, it's
that-
coming through on my phone at the moment. Okay.
Shall I continue?
So you can hear it through there.
Yeah.
Asher, it's Chris
All
Taylor
right,
here. I'm the
it
governance
It
specialist.
might be
Obviously,
easier,
Jeff's
Marty
got
or Amy,
issues.
do you want to ask
Um,
any questions to be
just-
asked? It's going to be difficult for me to communicate.
Just noting that you're coming up to full time anyway, so maybe if you just want to quickly wrap up and the councillors online can ask you any questions of clarification. But yes, be assured that the majority of councillors have heard what you've said and we've got this recorded, so Jeff can catch up on this one particular submission. I'm just going to try and get Jeff to log off and come back on.
Okay.
Okay.
But
All right.
thank
I'll
you
make
very
my
much.
last few points and then we can have some
All right.
questions.
Thank you, Asher.
Okay, so we've also got information from the Department of Conservation around kiwi that have been contaminated with Brodifacoum. So you can see here, and I've provided this information to councillors at the end of last year, and I'm happy to do so again. The kiwi that were tested between, I think it's 1998 again and 2008, 37% of them came back with an anticoagulant, and over 30% of those, it was Brodifacoum. So what's happening is that insects that the kiwi are consuming are contaminated with Brodifacoum. This is really, really concerning. And it begs the question, why did testing stop in 2008 when we're continuing to use this toxin quite liberally and encourage others to use it? So I think a perfect example is the tuatara that were in the Natureland Sanctuary. They were in a protected sanctuary. They, over a 2-year period, were consuming cockroaches that had been eating Brodifacoum from bait stations. Cockroaches were not affected by it, so it wasn't apparent to anybody. So over a 2-year period, 4 tuatara died. It was chronic low-dose Brodifacoum poisoning. So the same thing is happening to kiwi. So we really need to be asking the questions and looking deeply and thinking, you know, what are we doing here? We're killing predators at the same time as actually contaminating the species that we're trying to protect. Look, I won't take too much more of your time, but the other last thing to mention is pigs. So pigs, they go in and hoover up whatever they can that's been killed. They also get contaminated with Brodifacoum poisoning. There's information from Auckland Regional Council. They've done testing on this before. And we have pig hunters, plenty of pig hunters in our area. They are hunting these pigs. In an area where Brodifacoum is laid, you're not supposed to hunt for 3 years. So I don't see how this is tenable, that this toxin is being used in an area where there's large pig hunting community up here in Whangaroa. So we need to address this. What I really am asking at the end of the day is that we have a shift towards supporting less harmful biodiversity care, that we incorporate the precautionary principle and holistic approach in our best practice, and that if toxins are being used, there needs to be readily available and robust testing regimes. So, you know, and I'm just encouraging the Northern Regional Council, as, you know, this is your role. It really is. And, you know, we need to take a step in the right direction when it comes to this. There's many other impacts that I've mentioned, you know, like people like myself and other pest control workers and trappers in our community that feed possum carcasses to their dogs or they offset their biodiversity work by selling that on to, for example, the Possum Man pet food in Whangarei. Their work is actually being negatively impacted by this because they don't know when they catch a possum if it's already been sublethally poisoned. Obviously, these animals have to return to the bait several times in order to build up enough of a lethal dose. So you've got sublethally poisoned animals being caught, and entering into that, other people's properties. Basically, it's chemical trespass. So I think I'll leave it there.
You've done a
there's
great
lot to digest.
presentation. Yep,
What's that?
well done. You've done a great presentation.
Thank
But
you.
presented yourself well. Is there any questions from councillors? Rick?
Yeah, Asha, thank you. Thanks for all that. I'd be keen on getting the link to the Hawke report if I could.
Yeah, absolutely.
That looks really interesting. Thanks
Yep.
very much. Thank you
You're
for that.
welcome. Could I just add, Penny Fisher, who did the Hawke report in 2022, they released another paper actually talking about Brodifacoum resistance in rats. So this is another issue, and it's the same with 1080, is that over time they build up a resistance to these toxins. More of the toxin has to be used. So there's that paper I can send you as well, Rick.
Yep.
She's
Thank
done some
you.
wonderful work.
Thanks very much.
Okay, Asha, your time is up. So thank you for your time. Really appreciate you putting the effort in. And watch the space.
Yeah, cool. Look forward to seeing the results and some positive steps forward, and I'll keep providing you guys with information.
You're doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And good luck with the long-term plan. Look forward to reading
Okay.
it when it's finished.
All right. Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks. Okay, so where are we now with Chris Biddles?
Can I check in with Paul? Have we still just got Chris Biddles in the waiting room?
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, Chris is available.
All right, shall we bring him online?
Right, he's just reconnecting. He'll be with us in a second. Okay, Chris is online. I'd like to turn on your camera and your microphone.
Mute. Can you hear me now?
Can you hear Chris?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent. Hopefully you can't see. Can you see me?
Fortunately not.
Oh, that's a real positive for you guys, I can tell you.
How are you going?
I'm not sure. Look, do you want I don't know how to turn the bloody thing on, so do we have to?
Well, if you know, you don't have to, but it would be good. But if you don't have to.
Yeah, here we go. Start my video. Thank you. It might work. Here we go. How's that?
Good to see your face.
Oh, no, I'm not sure about that. Hey, kia ora, Chairman and councillors. Thank you for the opportunity. Can I let fly?
Get straight into it. You've got 10 minutes.
Excellent. I shouldn't need that. Hey, look, I'd just like to thank Robin Broadhurst, because we did have a little bit of a hiccup over this, and in the very early hours, or this morning, she managed to slot me in, so I really appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Look, you've seen I'm submitting on the emergency services and the regional sports rate. I'm not going to speak to the on the emergency services thing, because it's a no-brainer, and if you guys really want to do political suicide, well, good luck to you. So let's just go straight to the regional sports rate. I guess I should just say, I'm farming on the Poto Peninsula, but I've been involved for the last 35 years or so. I've tried to do my best to make Northland a better place to live in. I've chaired a number of reasonably major projects in sports development. One at Te Koupuru School some 25, 30 years ago. I chaired the redevelopment of the Whangarei Aquatic Centre, and I also chaired the Dargaville Sportsville. So I'm pretty passionate about the fact that we might lose this rate. So I just I'm not sure if councillors realise just how difficult it was to set this rate up, and they had two goes. The first one, 56% of written submissions supported the rate, and that was then for the Okara Park development. When it came to people online appearing, it was a huge percentage of people against. The average age of those people was probably around about 80, and mostly from Grey Power. And it was really quite disappointing to hear when I sat through listening to some of those. A couple of years later, and when the motion got put, Craig Brown was the chairman at the time. He moved the motion and he didn't get a seconder. Yet there was 56% of written submissions in support. A couple of years later, it went through, and it's been really valuable, very valuable for Northland in the past. And I take issue with the staff assertion that current projects are not important. That's not necessarily the wording they used, but it was the feeling that I got from them. We need people to come and live and stay in Northland, and having better sporting facilities it'll encourage your doctors, it'll encourage people with families to be here. And it doesn't necessarily have to be just in the big centres, right throughout. I think, there is huge amount of success from this rate, and I think it just needs to continue. The economic and social benefits from this rate has been tremendous. Because I've been involved so heavily, when you get $1 from the regional council, the chances are you'll get $2 more from outside national things such as lotteries or Foundation North. So, I think it's being underestimated. The other thing that I take issue with is the staff's presentation in the consultation document. To me, they state that by getting rid of both these two rates, will then be able to put it into core business. Well, I'm sorry, how can you put a targeted rate money into core business? So I think for me, I get the feeling that there are two scenarios for why this was done. Either your staff do not understand a targeted rate, or they were being mischievous and deliberately attempting to scare ratepayers that there was going to be a rate increase, or that they could shift that money elsewhere. Either one, I don't think it is a very successful way of informing us. So I believe that the public have been seriously misled by the way it was put up. The sports rate was also put up alongside the emergency services thing, which again looked to be scaring, that you take this one, you won't get that one. I just think it's been very mischievous, and because of the way it's been presented, is apart from the fact that it is a very valuable rate, I believe that it's been presented so badly that it should continue anyway. So that's my little grump and growl. That's the trouble with getting old. You get grumpier. So thank you, Chairman.
No problem,
I hope
Chris.
you like the colour of my jersey too.
Yeah, real jersey.
Yeah.
Hey, I really appreciate your effort over the years with the sporting facilities. You've been outstanding. So I'm glad you submitted, and put your smiley face on the camera so we can all hear passion. So really appreciate it. So I'm just going to open it up to our other panel members to see if they have any questions.
Kia ora, Jeff. I've got a question, if that's all right.
Yep.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, really appreciate hearing from you. And obviously you've got a real depth of experience in this area. Question from me is just, can you explain from the community's perspective the difference between the district council and their ability to rate for sporting facilities, and just kind of what was it that this regional sporting facility rate offered above and beyond what the district rate can do?
Look, I'm not sure whose brave idea it was to go out and get that, but it did initially start through because of the need for a redevelopment of Okara Park, and it was a fully regional thing. So I think that's why instead of going to individual councils, they went to the regional council. It was so successful that it was continued. But I think the important thing to remember is that the dollars collected in each district get spent in that area. So Far North money cannot be spent in Whangarei or Kaipara money spent in Far North. So does that answer your question at all? I think it was more feasible to have the one body that represents the whole of Northland.
Thank you. No, it's good. It's good to understand that from your perspective, that was a game changer when that regional rate came in. So thank you for that.
Okay, Chris, do you have any, like the sporting facility rate, as you're pretty passionate about, do you have any projects that you vision that the rate would go towards?
In Kaipara, I think because this is the other safeguard on this rate, Jeff, that you cannot get money from the regional council rate unless your facility is on the Northland facilities plan, which is done by an independent person outside Northland. So you have to be up there to get it. So I mean, in Kaipara, the next one off the block, I believe, is the improvement of the swimming of the pool, which is probably covering in the hydrotherapy pool, I think. And there is, and then the Sportsville stage 2. I'm no longer involved with Sportsville, but Sportsville stage 2 is secondary to that. And I think there's something in Mangawhai at the moment. You've got, of course, the Kaikohe Sportsville. I mean, that's been on the go for longer than what we were, but they're not up and running yet. So, I think each area has got their good quality thing to be done, and an independent person oversees to make sure that it is worthy.
Okay, Chris, we've got two other councillors that'd like to make a question. One's Marty Robinson.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation, Chris. Not actually a question, but more by way of explanation in defence of staff, as that councillors all voted for this to go forward. And you're obviously going to get, or nobody's going to interpret it exactly the way as it is described, but the intention is that the money that would be saved by not having on this rate, it's not so much that the money would be diverted to a different cause, but that ratepayers wouldn't have to pay that rate. In fact, they'd then be contributing to other things, other goals and targets that we believed are more appropriate for council, for instance, flood protection, etc. The thinking was that we'd done sufficient rounds over the whole of the districts that we'd fairly allocated a fair share of resources towards the sports funding. So just by way of explanation. But thanks very much for your presentation. It is compelling. Kia ora.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Marty. We've got John Blackwell.
Yeah. So the question is, Chris, I want to ask you about sports because you've given me that in the neck with Nigel. But I was more about the helicopter, and you actually live on the very far west coast of Northland. And I just wondered, since you did write in about the helicopter appeal, I just wondered if you could sort of show is it important for these wild west coast remote places? Thanks, Chris.
Well, I'm a walking a walking example of that, aren't I? So yeah, I had a major accident on my farm, and the helicopter possibly saved my life. Yeah, even if 4 years down later I did have to donate a leg to science as a result of that accident. But no, look, we all know how important the helicopter is. Because you've asked, I think I agree that with that national the central government should be funding it more, but that's not going to happen. So we've got to keep this going, and I don't think there'll be many people throughout Northland that would object to that.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, so there's no other hands up that I can see. So thanks, Chris. Really appreciate your effort. Putting your face in the camera and turning up and having the old red and black shirt on, which is even better. So
I appreciate that
passion. So well done.
Kia ora. Thank you very much, Jeff and councillors. Appreciate and especially for Robin for teeing that up at the last minute.
No problem.
Thanks,
Thank
Chris.
you.
Thanks.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Good morning, Chair. It's Chris here. We've haven't got any further submitters in the waiting room. Our staff have tried to contact them via email, but without success. So at this point, that's looking like that will be the session this morning. Just a couple of admin things. We've just got a mover and seconder for our apologies. And for item 5.1, if we could please put those two motions. And then I think we're probably safe to adjourn the hearings until tomorrow.
Did have a mover and a seconder for.
Yeah, we did.
We can do it again.
No,
Yep.
we've got a mover and a seconder. Could you just put those in favour, those against, just for the record?
Oh, those in favour say aye.
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 Aye. Perfect. Thank you. Otherwise, I think we're done for hearings this morning.
Okay. All right. Thanks, team.
We've got forestry this afternoon, Jeff.
Yeah. Is it 2 o'clock?
I believe so.
Yeah. All right. I'll see you online. Are you going to line in?
I don't know if it is. I think it's in Whangarei.
Okay. Well, I'll better come in then. Yeah, wasn't sure whether everyone's online, but if you're coming in, I'll come in.
If Paul could just stop the recording, please, since we're done.